The asset was compromised. That's all they told me initially. Asset compromised, blown, location known to hostile forces, immediate extraction required, time window 72 hours before they moved him to a interrogation facility inland where we'd never get him out. This was back in the mid-70s, Southeast Asia, one of those operations where nobody wanted their name attached to the paperwork. I was working under maritime telecommunications consultant cover at the time, gave me reason to be near ports, near water, near the kind of infrastructure that required boats and access to coastal areas. Good cover, held up under scrutiny, let me move around without drawing attention. The asset was a local who'd been feeding us intelligence on enemy troop movements and supply routes for 18 months. Good intel, actionable. He'd helped us interdict 3 major supply operations and had provided early warning on 2 significant enemy buildups that saved American lives. Now he was burned. Someone in his village had talked. Maybe they tortured it out of someone. Maybe someone got paid. Doesn't matter. What mattered was the enemy knew who he was and they were actively hunting him. He'd managed to get word out through a cutout, an intermediary we used for emergency communications. The message was simple. They're coming, need out, we'll be at the fish dock. The fish dock, small commercial fishing operation on a river estuary about 12 miles from the coast. The river was patrolled heavily. The enemy ran regular boat patrols up and down that waterway because it was a natural infiltration route. They knew we used rivers. They knew water was harder to track than land. So they put patrol boats out there with searchlights and heavy machine guns. They ran those patrols like clockwork. 3 boats, staggered intervals, sweeping searchlights across both banks and any vessels they encountered. If you were on that river after dark without proper authorization, you were assumed hostile and they'd light you up. That's where our asset was hiding, right on that river, in a fishing village where enemy patrols passed by every 45 minutes throughout the night. The mission brief was straightforward. Get in there, get him out, don't get caught, don't start a firefight because we couldn't afford the political blowback if this went loud. The entire operation had to be silent, invisible. We had to pull a man out from under the enemy's nose while their patrol boats were actively searching for exactly this kind of activity. I volunteered immediately. That's what you do. Someone comes to you with a mission, doesn't matter if it sounds impossible or if the odds are shit, you volunteer. You don't turn things down. What seems like a terrible assignment might be the most important thing you ever do. This asset had earned the extraction. He'd put his ass on the line for us for 18 months. Now it was our turn. They gave me 2 other guys, both solid. One was a comms specialist who could handle the radio and coordinate timing if we needed support. The other was a Vietnamese linguist who'd grown up on the water and knew boats like I knew rifles. We'd need that expertise. This whole operation was going to be about understanding water, current, timing, and how to move a boat without drawing attention. The plan was simple in concept, complicated in execution. We'd use a local fishing boat, something that belonged on that river. We'd time our approach to slip in between enemy patrol passes. We'd locate the asset at the fish dock. We'd extract him. We'd exfiltrate back downriver and get him to a coastal pickup point where a larger vessel would take him out of the area entirely. Simple, except for the patrol boats with searchlights, except for the fact that we'd be operating in the middle of their patrol pattern, except for the heavy machine guns, except for the fact that if anything went wrong, we'd be trapped on a river with nowhere to go and no backup coming. The enemy patrol pattern was our biggest problem and our only advantage. They ran 3 boats on staggered schedules. First boat came upriver at around 10 o'clock at night. Second boat came upriver at roughly 10:45. Third boat came upriver at approximately 11:30. Then the pattern repeated every 45 minutes throughout the night until dawn. That gave us gaps. 45-minute windows between patrols when the river was clear. That's when we'd move. That's when we'd be exposed. That's when everything had to work perfectly. We spent 2 days studying the pattern, watching from concealed observation points on the riverbank, confirming timing, confirming routes, confirming crew behavior, We needed to know everything about how those patrol boats operated before we put ourselves out on that water. What we learned, they ran their searchlights in sweeping arcs. They focused on the banks more than the center channel. They slowed down at bends in the river where visibility was limited. They moved faster on straight sections. They didn't stop unless they saw something suspicious. That last part was critical. If we could avoid looking suspicious, they might pass right by us. Fishing boats were common on that river during the day. Some were out at night. If we looked like we belonged there, like we were just another fishing vessel moving between locations, we might blend in. We moved out at dusk on the third day. The boat we'd acquired was a typical river fishing vessel, maybe 25 feet long. Wooden hull, small outboard motor, covered work area where fishermen would process their catch, nets and equipment that looked well used and legitimate. It smelled like fish and diesel fuel. Perfect. We loaded our gear in wooden crates that looked like they could contain fishing supplies. Weapons were hidden under false bottoms. Radio equipment was wrapped in waterproof bags and tucked into the engine compartment where it wouldn't be immediately visible. The asset would hide under the nets once we got him aboard. Our cover story was simple. We were moving the boat from one fishing village to another. Legitimate reason to be on the water after dark. Legitimate reason to be heading downriver. If stopped and questioned, we'd play dumb. We were just fishermen. Wrong place, maybe. Didn't know the patrol schedule. Very sorry. Won't happen again. Would they buy it? Maybe. Maybe not. But it was better than having no story at all. We pushed off from our staging point about 2 miles downriver from the target location just after 8 o'clock in the evening. The sun was down. Twilight was fading fast. In another 30 minutes, it would be full dark. The Vietnamese linguist handled the motor. He knew how to make the boat move naturally, how to read the current, how to position us in the water so we looked like we belonged there. The comm specialist stayed low in the covered work area with the radio. I positioned myself near the bow where I could watch for patrol boats and scan the riverbanks. We moved slowly upriver, engine at low throttle, no sudden movements, no wake that would draw attention, just another fishing boat making its way along the river. The first patrol boat passed us going downriver at around 8:30, just as darkness settled completely. We saw their searchlights sweeping across the water before we saw the boat itself. Bright white beam cutting through the darkness, searching, probing, looking for anything out of place. We kept moving at steady speed, didn't react, didn't change course, didn't slow down or speed up, just maintained our heading like we had every right to be there. The searchlight swept across our boat. I kept my head down. Didn't look directly at them. That's what nervous people do. They stare at the thing they're afraid of. Innocent fishermen would barely notice a patrol boat. They'd be focused on their own work. So that's what we did. We ignored them. The light lingered on us for maybe 5 seconds. Felt like 5 minutes. I could hear their engine, could hear voices carrying across the water. Then the light moved on. They continued downriver, past us without slowing. First contact, clean. We continued upriver. The target location was a small fishing dock that serviced maybe 10 or 12 boats. It wasn't a commercial port, just a wooden dock structure with a few small buildings where fishermen stored gear and prepared their catch. During the day, it would be busy. At night, it was supposed to be empty. Our asset would be waiting there. Somewhere in the darkness near those buildings, we'd agreed on a recognition signal. 3 short flashes from a small light. We'd respond with 2 short flashes. Then he'd approach. We timed our arrival for 9:15. That put us in the window after the first patrol boat had passed and before the second one came upriver at 10:45. 45 minutes to get in, locate the asset, get him aboard, and get clear of the area before the next patrol. 45 minutes. Should be plenty of time. Should be. We approached the dock slowly, engine barely above idle, letting the current do most of the work. The Vietnamese linguist brought us alongside the wooden structure without bumping or making unnecessary noise. I threw a line over one of the pilings. We secured the boat. Silence. Just the sound of water lapping against the hull and the distant hum of insects from the jungle beyond the village. No lights visible in the buildings. No movement. I pulled out the small flashlight we'd designated for the signal, pointed it toward the buildings. 3 short flashes. Nothing. Waited 30 seconds. 3 short flashes again. Still nothing. God damn it! Where was he? We couldn't stay here long. The clock was running. We had maybe 35 minutes before the next patrol boat came upriver. If our asset didn't show, we'd have to abort and try again tomorrow night, but tomorrow might be too late. If the enemy was actively searching for him, every hour increased the chance they'd find him first. I was about to signal a 3rd time when I saw movement, shadow, separating from deeper shadows near one of the buildings, low profile, moving carefully, coming toward the dock. Could be our asset, could be enemy, could be a fisherman who lived nearby wondering what the hell we were doing at his dock in the middle of the night. The shadow reached the edge of the dock, stopped. Then I saw the light. 3 short flashes, weak, probably a small pen light or maybe even a lighter. There he was. I responded with 2 short flashes. He came forward quickly then, moved down the dock toward our boat. I could see him better now. Small guy, local build, wearing dark clothing. He was carrying a small bag. Everything he owned in the world probably fit in that bag. He reached the boat. The linguist spoke to him quietly in Vietnamese. Quick exchange, confirming identity, confirming situation, making sure this wasn't some kind of trap. The asset climbed aboard. We got him into the covered work area and under the nets. Told him to stay down, stay quiet, don't move no matter what happens. We pushed off from the dock at 9:27. 23 minutes until the next patrol boat came upriver. We needed to be at least 3 miles downriver by then. Needed to be clear of this immediate area. Needed to look like we'd been fishing somewhere else entirely if they spotted us. The linguist brought the engine up to half throttle. Faster than we'd been moving before, but not so fast that we'd create a noticeable wake. We turned downriver, started making distance. Everything was working. We had the asset. We were moving. We had time. Then the goddamn patrol boat came early. We were maybe 2 miles downriver from the dock when I saw the searchlight coming upriver toward us, moving fast. Shouldn't have been there for another 15 minutes. Either they'd changed their schedule or this was an extra patrol we hadn't accounted for. Didn't matter which. What mattered was that bright white searchlight sweeping back and forth across the river, and we were right in their path with an enemy asset hidden under fishing nets in our boat. Cut the engine to low, I said quietly to the linguist. He throttled back immediately. We slowed to drift speed. If we tried to run, we'd draw attention. If we cut the engine completely, we'd look like we were trying to hide. Best option was to maintain slow forward movement, like we were just another fishing boat doing normal fishing boat things. The patrol boat was closing fast, maybe 800 yards, maybe less. Their searchlight was sweeping in wide arcs, covering both banks and the center channel. They were being thorough tonight. Everyone looked natural, I said. We're fishermen. We're checking nets. We're not worried about patrol boats because we have nothing to hide. The comm specialist shifted position in the covered work area. Casual movement, like he was working with equipment. The linguist kept one hand on the motor controls, ready to adjust speed if needed. I picked up a piece of fishing net and started examining it. Gave my hands something to do. Gave me a reason to be standing where I was standing. The patrol boat closed to 400 yards. I could see them now. Military vessel, maybe 40 feet long. Crew of 4 or 5 visible on deck. Heavy machine gun mounted forward. Searchlight mounted on the cabin structure, sweeping back and forth. 300 yards. Their searchlight swept across us. Moved past. Came back. Stayed on us. Here we go. The patrol boat slowed. Changed angle. Started moving directly toward us instead of just passing upriver. They were coming to investigate. They wanted a closer look. Stay calm, I said quietly. Let them come. We're just fishermen. The Vietnamese linguist said something in Vietnamese, probably cursing. Can't say I blamed him. This was about to get interesting. The patrol boat pulled alongside us, maybe 20 feet separation, close enough that I could see faces, young guys, conscripts probably, armed with AK-47s, looking nervous and aggressive at the same time. That's a bad combination because nervous guys with guns make mistakes. One of them shouted something in Vietnamese. The linguist responded, kept his voice calm, casual, just a conversation between people on the water at night. They talked back and forth for maybe 30 seconds. The linguist explained we were moving the boat between villages, mentioned a village named downriver, said we were taking advantage of the cooler night temperature to move without overheating the engine. The patrol boat crew didn't look convinced. One of them pointed at our covered work area, shouted another question. The linguist responded that we had fishing equipment stored there, nets, supplies, the usual. They wanted to inspect. That was a problem. That was a big goddamn problem. If they came aboard and started poking around under those nets, they'd find our asset, they'd find our weapons, they'd find our radio equipment, and then this whole thing would go loud and sideways, and we'd be in a firefight on the river with nowhere to go. The linguist kept talking, kept the conversation going, kept them focused on him. He was buying time, giving me time to figure out what the hell we were going to do. I had a handgun tucked in my waistband under my shirt. The comm specialist had a weapon within reach in the work area. If they tried to board us, we could take them. 5 enemy versus 3 of us. Bad odds, but not impossible. Problem was the noise. The second we opened fire, every patrol boat on this river would converge on our position. We'd never make it to the coastal pickup point. The standoff continued. One of the patrol boat crew was pointing at our work area again, getting more insistent. His voice was rising. He was young, maybe early 20s. Probably scared shitless of getting in trouble if he let something slide, and it turned out we were enemy agents. He was going to push this. He was going to want to search. I made a decision. I stepped forward toward the edge of our boat, held up my hands in a friendly gesture, started speaking in broken Vietnamese. Real broken. Like someone who'd learned a few phrases but wasn't fluent. I pointed at the fishing nets, made exaggerated gestures about working, about being tired, about wanting to get downriver to sleep. I was playing the role of a foreign fishing consultant, someone who was here legitimately on a work permit but didn't speak the language well, someone who was annoying but not threatening, someone they'd want to get away from rather than deal with. The young guy who'd been demanding to search turned his attention to me, started asking questions. I responded with more broken Vietnamese mixed with some English, kept gesturing, kept acting frustrated that they were delaying us, kept playing the annoying foreigner who just wanted to do his job and didn't understand why they were bothering him. It worked. The patrol boat commander, older guy, probably mid-30s, said something sharp to his crew. Sounded like he was telling them to let it go. We weren't worth the paperwork. We were clearly just some fishing operation with a foreign consultant who was annoying as hell. Nothing suspicious, nothing worth the time. The patrol boat pulled away. Their searchlights swept across us one more time. Then they continued upriver. We waited till they were 100 yards past us before the linguist brought the engine back up to half throttle. We continued downriver. Nobody spoke for a solid 5 minutes. We were all processing what had just happened. We'd passed inspection. Barely. By playing the role of annoying foreigners who weren't worth the trouble. Sometimes the best operational security is being so annoying that the enemy doesn't want to deal with you. But we weren't clear yet. We still had miles to go before we reached the coastal pickup point, and there would be more patrol boats. The schedule said another one would come upriver in about 20 minutes. And after that, another 45 minutes later, we had to run this gauntlet 3 more times before we got out of the patrol zone. We made good time for the next hour, stayed in the center channel where the current was strongest, kept the engine at steady throttle, didn't push it but didn't creep along either. We needed to look purposeful, like we had somewhere to be. The assets stayed hidden under the nets. Hadn't moved, hadn't made a sound. Good man. He understood that his life depended on staying invisible. One wrong move at the wrong time and this whole thing would collapse. The next patrol boat passed us at around 10:45, right on schedule. Same drill. Their searchlight swept across us. They didn't slow down, just continued upriver. They'd probably gotten a radio report from the first boat that they'd already inspected a fishing vessel matching our description, and we'd checked out. That worked in our favor. Once you've been inspected and cleared, subsequent patrols are less likely to bother you again. But we couldn't count on that. Every patrol boat was independent. Every crew made their own decisions. We had to be ready for another inspection at any moment. At 11:20, we passed through a narrow section of the river where jungle growth came right down to the water's edge on both banks. Visibility was limited. Lots of shadows. Lots of places for boats to hide or for ambushes to be set. This was a natural choke point. If I was running enemy patrols, I'd focus attention right here. And sure enough, there was a patrol boat stationed there, not moving, just sitting in the shadows near the western bank, engine idling, watching. We saw them as we entered the narrow section, maybe 200 yards ahead, positioned where they had clear lines of fire in both directions. If we tried to turn around and run, they'd light us up before we cleared the kill zone. Only way was forward. Keep speed steady, I said to the linguist. Same as we've been moving. Don't react. He maintained throttle. We kept moving forward into the narrow section. The patrol boat's searchlight came on, hit us full beam, bright white light flooding our entire boat, blinding. I couldn't see anything beyond that light, couldn't see how many crew they had, couldn't see what weapons were pointed at us. We kept moving. Someone on the patrol boat shouted something. The linguist shouted back, kept us moving. The light stayed on us. We were maybe 100 yards from them now, getting closer. Another shout from the patrol boat sounded like an order. The linguist responded. I caught the word for fishing and something about moving downriver. He was repeating our cover story, same story we'd told the first patrol boat. The light stayed on us. 50 yards. We were close enough now that I could see figures moving on their deck. At least 3 crew visible, weapons up, ready. This was the moment. Either they'd let us pass or they'd order us to stop and come alongside for inspection. If they ordered us to stop, we'd have to comply. And then we'd be right back in the situation we'd barely escaped earlier. Except this time there was no room to maneuver, no space to run, just this narrow channel with jungle on both sides and their guns pointed at us. 30 yards. The linguist kept us moving straight toward them. Didn't deviate, didn't slow. Confidence. That's what sells a cover story. If you act like you belong there, like you have every right to be there, sometimes people believe you. 20 yards, the patrol boat shifted position slightly. They were getting ready to block our path. This was it. They were going to stop us. Then their searchlight went dark. Just like that, they cut the light, waved us through, moved their boat slightly to give us clear passage. We motored past them, close enough that I could have reached out and touched their hull if I'd been so inclined. Close enough that I could see the faces of the crew, young guys, looking bored, looking tired, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else than sitting in a narrow river channel in the middle of the night watching fishing boats pass by. We cleared the narrow section, continued downriver. Behind us, the patrol boat stayed in position, didn't follow, didn't pursue, just went back to sitting in the shadows waiting for the next vessel to come through. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. That was too goddamn close, the comm specialist said quietly from the work area. He wasn't wrong, but we were through. Past the narrow section, past the station patrol boat. We had maybe another 5 miles before we reached the coastal area where the river widened into the estuary. Once we got there, we'd be in open water with more room to maneuver, more options if things went wrong. 5 miles, maybe 45 minutes at our current speed. We could do this. The river widened gradually over the next half hour. Banks got farther apart. Jungle gave way to marshland and then to mudflats. We were approaching the estuary, almost there. At midnight, we heard an engine behind us, distant, getting closer. Another patrol boat coming downriver. This one was moving faster than the ones we'd seen earlier, moving with purpose. They might be looking for us, the comms specialist said. Someone might have reported something suspicious, or they're just running their normal pattern, I said. Don't assume the worst until we know. But I was thinking the same thing he was. If someone had gotten suspicious, if one of those patrol boats had radioed in concern about a fishing vessel moving downriver at an unusual hour, they might have scrambled a pursuit boat, and that boat would be coming fast. The engine sound got louder, closer. They were definitely moving faster than the regular patrols, and they were definitely coming our direction. Options? The linguist asked. We can't outrun them in this boat, I said. We can't hide because there's no cover out here. We run to the pickup point and hope we get there before they catch up. And if they catch up, then we deal with it. The linguist pushed the throttle to maximum. Our little fishing boat surged forward. The engine strained. We were probably doing 12 or 15 knots now. Decent speed for a boat this size, but nothing compared to a military patrol vessel that could probably do 25 or 30 knots. The engine sound behind us got closer. They were gaining. I could see their running lights now, maybe half a mile back, closing fast. How far to the pickup point? I asked the comm specialist. He checked his map. 3 miles, maybe less. How long until a pickup vessel is in position? They should be there now, waiting for our signal. Send it. The comm specialist pulled out the radio. Encrypted frequency. Quick burst transmission. 6 seconds. Eagle 1, this is Eagle 2. Inbound hot. Request immediate pickup. The response came back immediately. Eagle 2, this is Eagle 1, standing by, vector directly to our position. The patrol boat behind us was maybe a quarter mile back now, close enough that I could see their searchlights sweeping back and forth. They were looking for us. No question now, this wasn't a routine patrol. This was a pursuit. They're going to catch us before we reach the pickup point, the linguist said. He was right. We were still 2 miles from the pickup point. The patrol boat would overtake us in less than 5 minutes. Once they did, they'd force us to stop. They'd board us. They'd find the asset, and this whole thing would be over. Unless, when they get within 100 yards, I said, cut the engine and drift, make it look like we've got mechanical trouble. What good does that do? The comm specialist asked. Buys us time. They'll slow down to approach carefully. They'll think we're dead in the water and not a threat. As soon as they're close, we light the engine back up and run for the pickup point. Might give us enough separation to make it. That's a terrible plan, the linguist said. You got a better one? He didn't. The patrol boat closed to 100 yards. The linguist cut the engine. We drifted. Current took us downstream, but not fast enough. We were losing momentum. The patrol boat slowed. Their searchlight fixed on us. They were being cautious now, approaching a disabled vessel carefully in case it was a trap. Smart. If I'd been running their operation, I'd do the same thing. They closed to 50 yards. 40, 30. Their searchlight stayed on us. I could see their crew clearly now. 5 men, all armed, one manning the machine gun. They were ready for trouble. 20 yards? Now, I said, the linguist hit the starter. The engine coughed, didn't catch. He hit it again. The engine turned over, sputtered, then roared to life. He slammed the throttle forward. We lurched ahead. The patrol boat reacted immediately, tried to accelerate and close the gap, but they'd let their speed drop too much. They had to build momentum again. That gave us maybe 15 seconds of separation. 15 seconds might be enough. We ran flat out. The engine screamed. The hull pounded across the waves. Behind us, the patrol boat was accelerating hard, gaining again. But we had distance now, maybe 150 yards. Pickup point dead ahead, the comm specialist shouted. Half a mile. I could see lights on the water. A larger vessel. our pickup boat, waiting for us. They'd seen us coming. They'd be ready. The patrol boat was closing again, maybe 100 yards back. Their searchlight was locked on us. I heard shouting across the water. Orders, threats, commands to stop. We didn't stop. 400 yards to the pickup point, 300, 200. The patrol boat was 75 yards behind us now, close enough that I could hear their engine clearly, close enough that if they decided to open fire, they couldn't miss. 100 yards to the pickup point. The larger vessel ahead of us flashed its lights. Recognition signal. They were ready to take us aboard. They had a ladder deployed on the port side. We'd come alongside, transfer the asset, and get the hell out of here while a pickup boat made distance with its superior speed. 50 yards. The patrol boat was 60 yards behind us. Maybe less. I could hear someone on their boat shouting through a loudspeaker, commanding us to stop immediately or they'd open fire. 25 yards to the pickup point. The linguist brought us alongside the larger vessel perfectly. Smooth approach despite the chaos. The comm specialist threw a line. Someone on the larger vessel caught it and secured us. Go, 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 I shouted. The comm specialist pulled back the nets. Our asset emerged, climbed out of the work area. I grabbed his arm and half dragged him to the ladder. He went up fast. Crew on the larger vessel pulled him aboard. The patrol boat was 40 yards away and closing. You two go, I said to the linguist and comm specialist. They went up the ladder. Fast. Professional. I followed. Got halfway up when I heard the machine gun. The patrol boat opened fire. Not at us. They were shooting over our heads. Warning shots. Trying to stop the larger vessel from leaving. Trying to force us to stay put. I climbed the rest of the way. Got on deck. Someone cut the line connecting us to the fishing boat. The larger vessel's engines roared. We accelerated hard. The patrol boat was 20 yards away, still firing warning shots, still trying to get us to stop. But we had a fast boat now. Modern engines, military-grade speed. We pulled away. The patrol boat tried to follow, but they couldn't match our speed. Within 2 minutes, we'd opened the gap to 100 yards, then 200, then 500. They kept following for a while, but eventually they gave up. Turned back. We'd escaped their patrol zone. We were in open coastal water now. They had no authority here, no jurisdiction. We were clear. The asset was safe. Mission complete. We delivered the asset to a secure location by dawn. Got him debriefed. Got him cleaned up. Got him set up with new identity documentation and a plane ticket out of the region. He'd never be able to go home. His village was compromised. His family might be at risk, but he was alive. He'd get relocated somewhere safe where he could start over. That's the trade-off for people who help us. They risk everything. Sometimes they lose everything. All we can do is make sure they survive and get a chance at a new life. The operation was considered a success. Asset extracted, no casualties, no shots fired at personnel, no international incident. Everything stayed quiet, exactly how these things are supposed to go. But there were moments during that extraction where everything could have gone wrong. When that first patrol boat pulled alongside us and wanted to search, when that station boat in the narrow section had us in their searchlights with nowhere to run, when the pursuit boat caught up to us just before we reached the pickup point, any one of those moments could have ended differently. Any one of those patrol boat crews could have been more suspicious, more aggressive, more thorough. We could have been compromised. We could have been forced into a firefight. We could have lost the asset and gotten ourselves captured or killed. The difference between success and failure in those moments came down to three things. First, we volunteered for the mission. Nobody forced us to take this assignment. It was dangerous. It was complicated. The odds weren't great. But when they asked for people willing to go get this asset out, we stepped forward. That's what warriors do. They volunteer for the hard stuff. They don't wait to be assigned. They don't make excuses. They see a mission that needs doing and they raise their hand. If you spend your career avoiding the difficult assignments, you'll never be in position when the important work comes up. You'll never build the experience. You'll never develop the capability. Volunteering for everything, even the missions that sound impossible, is how you become the operator who can handle the impossible missions. Second, we never quit. There were multiple points during that extraction where things looked bad, where it would have been easy to abort, to turn around, to say the risk was too high, and we'd try again another night. But once you commit to an extraction, once you have an asset depending on you, you don't quit. You push through. You find solutions. You adapt. When the patrol boat wanted to search our vessel, we didn't panic. We found a way to redirect their attention. When the station boat had us in their lights, we maintained composure and stayed in character. When the pursuit boat caught up to us, we used deception to buy time and made a desperate run for the pickup point. Never quit means you keep solving problems until either the mission succeeds or you're physically incapable of continuing. Everything up to that point is just another problem to solve. Third, physical capability matters. We were on that boat for hours, maintaining alertness, maintaining readiness, ready to act instantly when situations developed. If we'd been out of shape, if we'd been slow, if we'd been unable to maintain focus under stress, people would have died. The asset climbed that ladder fast when we reached the pickup point. We moved efficiently, transferring him between vessels. We maintained physical control throughout the operation despite stress and danger. That only happens if you've done the work beforehand, if you've maintained your fitness, if you've kept yourself capable. This operation reinforced something I'd learned throughout my career. Successful extractions depend less on brilliant tactical innovation and more on basic fundamentals executed under pressure. Cover story that holds up under scrutiny, ability to blend into the environment, composure when challenged, physical capability to act when action is required. These aren't complicated concepts, but they're hard to maintain when searchlights are on you and machine guns are pointed at your boat. The warrior mindset is what carries you through those moments. The fundamental desire to be involved, to be present for the mission, to be the person who steps forward when someone needs extracting. That's what drove us to volunteer. That's what kept us moving when things got dangerous. That's what brought everyone home alive. Here's what you need to understand about high-risk extractions. They're not about heroics. They're not about glory. They're about keeping your word. When someone puts their life on the line to help you, you owe them extraction if they get burned. That's the contract. That's the deal. You don't break that deal because it gets dangerous. The asset we pulled out that night had given us 18 months of solid intelligence. He'd risked his life every single day for 18 months. When his cover got blown and enemy forces were hunting him, we didn't have the option to say it was too risky to go get him. We had an obligation. We honored it. That's the warrior code. You take care of your people. You keep your commitments. You don't abandon people who've stood beside you. The tactical elements of that extraction, the boat infiltration, the patrol evasion, the timed movements between enemy patrols, those are learnable skills. You can train for those. You can practice those. But the fundamental decision to volunteer for a dangerous extraction in the first place, that's character. That's something deeper than skill. When they briefed that mission and said they needed volunteers, I didn't think about the danger. I didn't calculate the odds. I didn't weigh the risk against the benefit. I thought about an asset who'd helped us for 18 months and who was depending on us now. That's all the calculation necessary. You volunteer for everything. You never quit. You maintain physical capability. You keep your word. That's it. That's the whole game. The midnight extraction worked because we applied those principles under pressure. When patrol boats pulled alongside us with searchlights and guns, we stayed in character. When pursuit boats chased us down the river, we kept moving toward the objective. When it would have been easier to abort, we pushed through. Physical fitness kept us capable. Mental discipline kept us focused. The volunteer mindset kept us committed. This wasn't a special operation because of complex tactics. It was special because we did what we said we'd do. We got an asset out from under enemy patrols because we'd promised him we would. Simple as that. Your word means something. In the warrior world, your word is everything. You say you'll be there, you're there. You say you'll extract someone, you extract them. Doesn't matter if patrol boats show up early. Doesn't matter if searchlights pin you down in a narrow channel. Doesn't matter if you have to run a gauntlet of enemy vessels to reach the pickup point. You gave your word, you keep it. That's what warriors do. They volunteer for hard missions. They keep their commitments. They never quit. They maintain capability. They honor the code. The midnight boat extraction under enemy patrol searchlights succeeded because we lived those principles, not because we were special, not because we were the best operators in the world, because we did the fundamentals right and we refused to quit. That's available to anyone willing to do the work, anyone willing to volunteer, anyone willing to maintain themselves physically and mentally, anyone willing to keep their word no matter what. The river was dark. The patrol boats were real. The machine guns were loaded. The searchlights were bright. The danger was substantial. We went anyway. That's the choice. Every single time. You either step forward or you step back. You either volunteer or you find reasons why you can't. You either keep your word or you break it. I stepped forward. My team stepped forward. The asset made it out alive. The mission succeeded. That's what matters. Everything else is just details. Never quit.